Welcome to the Growstories Podcast, where we explore how innovation, strategy, and the blend of AI plus human intelligence is reshaping the way leaders scale. I'm your host, Josh Jackson, founder of Red Letter AI, where we help businesses and companies grow, create the kind of marketing and sales engine that runs smoothly behind the scenes so their team can stay focused on what they do best. We believe in high-tech systems only work when paired with high-touch leadership, and that real growth happens when clarity, consistency, and smart automation come together. If you're focused on growing smarter and building real momentum, you're in the right place. Well, today I'm joined by Allison Michels, a fractional CMO, a world-class strategist known for transforming scattered teams and messy messaging into clear, confident growth. She's built programs for major brands, coached top leaders, and one of the sharpest minds when it comes to building process that actually move business forward. Allison, welcome to the show today.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Well, I'd love to kick off with, how did you get into marketing? Because I know when you were 5 years old, you weren't dreaming of someday I want to be a marketer. So what happened in life that you came to where you're at today?
That's a funny question. So my degree is in scientific and technical communications with a concentration in engineering, #nerd, #nobody knows what that is. And right after college, I was offered a position as a technical writer at a company that did engineering and lots of cool things in Austin, Texas. And I decided not to take that role. And I proceeded to move back to northern Wisconsin, where there was no jobs available for me. None. Zilch. I tried 200 times to find a job, and I was getting really frustrated and I didn't know exactly what to do. And for some reason, a company reached out to me that was doing a condo redevelopment. It was a $25 million deal where they were trying to convert a resort to a condo, sell it off to people from Chicago that were trying to find a second home. And they said, Allison, you are 23 and you seem like the exact person that needs to lead this entire campaign. And oh, by the way, it's going to be launched in 6 weeks. So you need to do the whole thing in 6 weeks. I didn't even know that was crazy. And so I just said, yes. I said, sure. What else do I have to do? So that's how I learned that there was a thing called marketing and that I could do it. And it actually worked. It was actually a fantastic rollout. Those clients ended up hiring me to do all of their marketing for their companies. And then not only that, but build out their systems and processes within their company, which led to more clients. And here we are, however many years later, where I have the privilege of being a fractional chief marketing officer for companies. So kind of weird, kind of strange, but I really love what I get to do.
Yeah, and in the intro, in talking to you previously to this, you work with some really big companies. So what made you decide to focus on helping those high-level clients?
Yeah, so it wasn't my choice. Again, with working with that first client who came to me and said I needed help, it kind of created the niche of I was selling to high-end clients for them, right? I was positioning them as an exclusive real estate agency. And then the next clients I had were building really beautiful homes, multi-million-dollar second homes in northern Wisconsin. Again, very niche market, exclusive, high-end premium brand. And so that's just kind of where I specialize. I didn't mean to do it necessarily. It just has been the thing that has been attracted to me. And then even in the leadership training and keynote speaking and things that I've had the opportunity to do, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies, training leaders globally. Again, did not plan that, but just try to add as much value as possible, and things kind of align. So super grateful for it. Didn't necessarily plan it, but now I have this opportunity to serve those clients and serve other businesses like that. And I love it. It's so fun. It's so exciting. It's a different energy, right? Like when you're at that level, you are creating a brand that attracts the right people to you versus out there searching for crumbs.
Yeah. It's super fascinating. And I don't get to ask this question often. So this is the question that just came to my mind. I want to know, I imagine other people want to know too, is when you look at companies that make 10 million a year or more, what is the biggest mistake they keep making with their marketing?
No strategy, lack of clarity. I mean, I walked into a company that was at 100 million, and the amount of things they were spending their time, money, and energy on was almost comical. And not in
Really?
a mean way, but oh my gosh, I sat down with their sales team and with their current marketing department and with those big pieces of paper and post-its and literally like mapped out all of the things. What are you doing now? What is driving results? And we found that 80% of what they were doing was a waste of their time, their energy, and their money. And I see it over and it doesn't matter what size company it is. A lot of times people are sold into, and this just happens, right? It happens in all industries. I specifically see it in marketing. We're sold into the idea like people will overpromise and underdeliver, or they'll do all of the things because they think they need to. And I believe that there are certain levers that you can utilize within your marketing to get the best results. And once you have that playbook, you can do it in any industry and you can get the results that you need in order to be successful and in order to create that high-end premium brand that's going to attract those clients and customers that you're seeking. I love it.
Wow, like hearing that is kind of astonishing because you think if you're at 100 million, you'd have your systems dial in and you might be run a little bit cleaner if more efficient, but it sounds like that's the exception, not the rule.
Correct. It is. And I learned a lot actually. The thing that I found in that process, Josh, is as I went in there and I did that audit, and that's how I start my client conversation, is we do an audit and look at all the things, exactly what I did with that $100 million company, identify what are you doing currently and what is working, what is not working, and what can we do in order to drive results and create those systems, and maybe things that you don't even think of, little tiny things that can make a huge difference. And when I did that, and it transformed their marketing. And it transformed in such a quick way that they were amazed by the results because we were able to systematize and build out that marketing strategy and those funnels that their sales teams needed in order to get the leads and the results. And it was repeatable and consistent. And that's, I think, the thing that we forget is that we can create things to make it simpler. It doesn't have to be more complicated. And often the more complicated something is, the less likely we are to implement it. And especially when we have large, complicated systems within businesses, like that's our cog, and it holds us back from really scaling and growing our companies to where we want to go. And so when I'm speaking to a CEO or president and they're struggling with building trust within their brand or their business or something's happening, oftentimes it's too much stuff they're doing.
Yeah. And I think it was Steve Jobs, it might have been somebody else, I can't remember, but I say all the time that, any idiot, I apologize for saying that, any idiot can make something complicated. It takes genius to make it simple. But to make it simple takes genius. Like it takes genius to figure out how to make it simple for the clients to go through and your sales reps too. Because, what's easy to do is easy not to do. And I'm starting to think of all these different things you're talking about, which is fascinating. I would love to stay on this topic for just one more minute.
Okay.
And ask you this. If we're looking at these companies a few years ahead with all the technology that's coming out and how everything's changing every single day, it feels like, what big change do you foresee will happen and how big companies will find new customers?
Well, obviously technology and AI is going to be integrated into that, but I think that the opportunity there and the big thing that companies need to recognize is that human relationship and connection is never lost. And so we need companies and leaders to be able to effectively and critically think about how they're utilizing technology in order to create a more human connection. And I think that's the thing. If you own that in the industry, if you're able to continue to build the human connection, because that no technology can replace this connection we're having right now, this conversation we're having, like this is a really cool thing, Josh, right? Nothing is going to replace that. And the more that we are utilizing technology to take the busy work off of our plates, or the things that we can, the marketing and maybe some of the putsy stuff that we're doing on a day-to-day basis, the more time we're going to have to build those connections. And in order to drive results, we need to continue to hold on to that human connection.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So tell me more about your business, the fractional CMO work. Who do you help? What is the first thing you do? I know you said you do an audit, but when you walk into a company, tell me a little bit more in depth on what you do.
I love that. Yeah. So first, typically I have clients or prospects that reach out to me that are overwhelmed, they are stressed out, and they have maybe wondered whether or not they can even get the help that they need. Like it's a pipe dream, essentially. And so I come in, I have a conversation with them. I identify if I'm the right person to, help them or not, because I integrate myself into their executive team. I work really closely with learning about who they are, they help, what they do, and what their differentiators are within their company, because I believe that in that process, I'm able to help create that marketing strategy to drive results. Mm-hmm. I gain that. And then, so when we start to work together, I typically work on a longer term basis with each of my clients because it is a process, right? You understand this, Josh, but sometimes maybe our listeners don't understand. When we're thinking about marketing, we want to build a foundation, a really strong foundation of certain things in order to drive results. And then once we have that foundation built, we need to build out the levers that are going to help with the growth, right? And that might be lead generation, that might be advertising. There's a lot of different levers that we can pull in order to get the results that you're seeking. And so it's this holistic approach to marketing. And so the first thing I do, like I mentioned, I do an audit. My team and I kind of look at all of the things, what's happening, what's working, and what can we do right now in order to get you a result. And then we take and we create an implementation plan for that year of what are the things that you need to do in order to implement and grow and scale. And what are your opportunities for revenue and growth? These are things that you probably aren't doing, but if you did, they could be the difference maker in growing your company to that next level. I'm actually doing that with a client today, actually, before I talk to you, where we had identified a revenue opportunity for them. If we start marketing this, it could far exceed what they're doing currently. And yet they weren't doing anything. They just didn't have the time and effort. They kept doing the same thing, right? We get stuck in that pattern. And so by being able to provide this service to their ideal clients and customers, they're going to probably 10x what they're doing.
Wow, that's incredible. So share with us a little bit more in depth on what makes your approach different from hiring a full-time CMO, like fractional CMO versus full-time CMO.
I think the thing that I like the most and the thing that I think is that my clients appreciate the most is because I'm working in multiple businesses and I'm working with multiple leadership teams. I see what's working and what's not, and I can quickly iterate what I'm doing for one client and be like, you know what, we need to do this here for you. If I'm working with one company, I don't get to see what's driving results in those other companies. And so for me, if I'm working with like 5 or 10 different companies, I'm seeing right, and Josh, some of our listeners might not know, but because things are changing so quickly with algorithms and with digital marketing, in order to stay on top of it, you need to be doing a whole bunch of different things. Well, I can't do a whole bunch of different things with just one company. I'm going to be doing different strategies with different companies. I can see what's working, what's not working, and then I can utilize those things to help my other companies grow quicker and faster and use those strategies within their companies quickly. If I was in one company, I would, obviously we would have our plan, we'd have it implemented, but that agility to be able to move and operate and use the best of the best currently would not happen. And I think that's the thing that I saw in some of the companies I've worked with that have one chief marketing officer. They think, oh, well, we need to just have the one person who's dedicating all their time and energy. Yes, and I don't think that's necessarily always the best for you. I think if you can find somebody who's an expert and who is able to strategically position you, utilizing the best of the best in what's working right now, like you are going to scale and grow much faster.
It's like having a coach, it sounds like.
100%.
It may be the star player in the company, but you need a coach outside the company that can help guide and direct you too. It's exactly what it sounds like.
100%. And I think that I love that analogy of that. The coach is like, I think being outside, like obviously I integrate, I try to learn and grow and build those relationships within the company. But because I'm kind of an outsider looking in, I see things from a different angle than if I was in the company, right, looking out. So that is also another, I think, benefit to having that fractional chief marketing officer, the person who comes in for a little bit, is able, and a lot of times the clients that I'm working with might not even have the budget for a chief marketing officer, and they would not have the ability to have a person like me come in and create that strategy. They might have the day-to-day marketing person, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But to be able to have that high-level strategy that's going to drive revenue and growth, they don't even have access to that. And I think that's a whole nother benefit to having somebody like me come into their company.
That's fantastic. So I'd love for you to share a case study, maybe somebody recent or someone you've obviously worked in the past, but don't name any companies, but share with me like where they came in, like what they struggled with, what did you do, and then what success are they seeing today?
Oh my gosh, I have a perfect example. I love that question. So I had actually met a person actually at our community sauna of all places. And she recognized me and started talking to me and asking me kind of like about my business, what I'm doing, all these different things. And I described it. And she's like, we have a few businesses. I think that we should chat. And so we got to chatting, and one of their businesses is in construction. And when I came in, their brand, I mean, they were doing awesome and they do amazing work. They are genuinely fantastic at what they do. They're exceptional builders, like high-end premium homes. However, their brand didn't represent that. And they knew it, right? They just didn't have the time, the energy, or the effort to do all the things in order to do a full rebrand and to really represent who they were now. And so that's where we started. We did everything, all the things to do a rebrand, new logo, new website, new social media presence, new digital marketing strategy, all of the things. And the results have already spoken for themselves. They are like, Allison, hiring you was the best decision we've made for our company, like hands down. Wow. And I don't say that like braggy way, but like it can work that quickly where you can start, they get more calls now than they've ever gotten by implementing the strategies we've utilized. And we haven't been working together it's been less than 6 months. They've already signed on for next year. They are my favorite clients. I absolutely love who they are, how they help. And I also think that's something that people don't know is possible, right? Like you don't know what you don't know. And you do need to make an investment, right? Like I'm not super cheap, but I believe that my goal is to provide so much value that your ROI on this investment happens so quickly that you're like, of course I'm going to do this. It pays for itself. Allison, you pick a team, help us grow and scale, and it works. And I think that's my goal whenever I'm working with a new client or customer, is that they get a return on investment very quickly and they feel confident and excited about their business again in a way where they know they're doing an amazing job.
Oh, I love it. What a great testimonial. What a great case study that is. So let me ask you, so talking about your business, if we're sitting here a year from now, what does success look like for you? What does growth look like?
Ooh, I love that question. Super honestly, I want to grow the number of fractional chief marketing officer positions that I have. Like I know what my numbers are, exactly how many I want to have. And the thing I think that is really important to me in this next year is to grow my team. I love operating and structuring a team behind me. One of the challenges I found in this year, this was a big learning for me, is the number of vendors that weren't able to deliver at the standard that I have, right? And I'm sure you know this, Josh, you've dealt with marketing vendors that maybe can overpromise and underdeliver. And I spent too much. Yeah, it's a reoccurring theme. Yeah. And in that realization, I recognize that I can't just be a fractional chief marketing officer. I need to provide the implementation behind the scenes, and I need to have top quality talent that's going to be able to help me implement that. I already have some really amazing like branding and those types of things, but I'm really, that next year at this time, Josh, we'll have another podcast and I'll say, hey, I did it. Here we are, scaled it to the spot. But not only that, I have a rock star team that is helping me provide tremendous value to the people that I'm working with. And that's, I think, a win for me because it's a win for my clients. And then it saves them time, energy, effort. They don't have to look for it. I don't have to look for it. We just have it and available to help them thrive and grow.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear this conversation a year from now.
Yeah.
So I just have a few more questions and we can wrap up. But
Yeah.
the first, I call these pay it forward questions right now. And the first one's a business related question. So you're talking about working with companies, 10 million plus, that's thinking about hiring a fractional CMO. What's the one piece of advice you'd give them right now?
The one piece of advice is, I think, to expand what they feel is possible. I think too often in companies, we look at our previous results or our past in order to determine what's in our future. And in everything that I study, every mentor that I have that's been super crazy successful, they don't measure their path or they don't measure their future by their past results because they know that their future is unlimited. And I think anybody who's listening to that, if you can say, okay, well, this is what happened in the past, but like today is a new day. I can look towards the future and I can create something absolutely astronomically amazing right now if I choose to. And there is no limit to that. And if I can lean into that belief every single all day, like just create that. I actually had a mentor I had a conversation with recently, and he said something that just I think about every day. Is just essentially like, put that vision out there, take action on it, and don't worry about the result because it will come. Like just trust it fully. Don't worry about how it's going to happen, Allison. And you don't know which direction's going to work. You're just out there, you're casting the net and you're trusting and you're believing and you're putting positivity out there. And when you do that and you create in that space, the most amazing things beyond your wildest expectations will happen.
Yes. I hope people realize that the gold nuggets that you just dropped and how impactful those are if you understand them and get in the right mindset. So my next question going to go along with what you said, but it's got to be different because you weren't prepared for this. What is the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Keep going. My mentor, Cliffy, he's since passed, but he's the reason why I have the company I have, and it's named Launch. When I was starting off, I wrote my first book. I wanted to be a speaker, trainer, coach. And I wanted to do all these things. I wanted to have my first event, and I was just terrified. And I called him, and he would always tell me, just keep going. Just take another step. Just try something. Is it going to always work? No, you're going to probably fail. And he always had this way of illustrating how it felt, right? Like it's like you're hiking up a mountain and you run into a boulder and you have to go around the boulder. And sometimes he's like, you're hiking up the mountain and you come to a place and you have to turn all the way around and you have to go all the way back down the mountain in order to get back up. But it doesn't matter. You just keep taking a step and you keep trying, and then eventually you're gonna reach that peak of that mountain. And that's the whole philosophy around what I'm trying to do with myself every single day, with my kiddos, but then also with anybody I work with. I want them to recognize that I believe that they can keep going, that they can push forward, whether that's in marketing or in their personal life or their professional life. I don't really care what it is, but you can keep going. You can, some days are harder than others. And if you continue to push forward, you continue to believe in yourself, and you continue to add value to people, there is no way you won't win. There is no way. It's impossible, I believe, is if you have that intention to go out there with grit and tenacity to get shit done, sorry I swore, you are going to have a positive result, and it will work no matter what. It might take you a bit, but it will work and it will transform you. But in that process of you chasing your dream, my guess is that you're going to have an impact on others that you did not even know was possible. And that's what I love to do.
That's awesome. And by the way, I call it hashtag GSD.
There we go. That's a good way to put it. You can bleep that part out. Hashtag GSD.
No, hashtag get shit done.
Funny.
So it's all good. It's all good. But what it sounds like you're saying is failure is part of the equation to success. So embrace failure and keep going.
My gosh. Yes. Failure is part of the process. I was just having this conversation. I'm listening to 10X is better than 2X. If you haven't read that book, listen to it, read it, study it. And my big aha this morning was in there. Dan Sullivan talks about 80% of what you're doing is driving or 20% is driving 80% of your results. And then that other 80% you're holding on to is actually taking all your time, energy, effort. It's sucking the life out of you, right? So we have to constantly be looking at what we're doing, who we're serving. It's providing the result that we need. And if not, we need to let go of it. And that process is scary. And it sometimes feels like failure, or it feels like a lost opportunity. But the truth is, as we let go of that energy that is no longer serving that best version of ourselves, you free up 80% of your time to do the thing that is going to drive the result in the future. And I think that process in and of itself is a growth for all of us. And especially if we're trying to go to that next level. Times in business, right? We think about revenue, sales, sales, sales. I think about impact. How many more people could I impact if I free up my time? How many more people can I help if I give, if I have the right energy? How many more opportunities are going to come if I feel happy, fulfilled, excited? It's unlimited. And I think if we can align our energy, not just our sales, right, but align our energy with that thought process, all of the abundance will come. All of the good things will happen. It's just a matter of putting ourselves in that space.
100%. I live by a philosophy that numbers and money follow, they do not lead.
Yes.
So if you lead and do the things you just said to do, numbers and money will follow.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about it.
100%.
So my second last question is, if you had a chance to talk to your 15-year-old self today, what's the one thing you would tell her?
I love that. Actually, I talked to 15-year-olds yesterday. And so this is just, of course I did. I had the opportunity to speak to a marketing high school class, and I went in there and spoke to, 100 or some high school students. And I do that because I want to talk to my 15-year-old self. And I want her to know, like her, him, right, whoever it is, to know how important they are. Because when I was 15, I was just beating myself up and I was suffering from anxiety and depression. I felt like I was never good enough and I had all of these high expectations for myself. And when I sat there and I talked to them yesterday, I said, I wish you could see how much who you are is going to serve the world. Like, I wish you could just see yourself from where I'm standing, and how each and every one of you in this room, you're all so different. You're all so different. You look different, you act different, you talk different, but who you are is so special and so unique, and the world needs you. And if you could speak kindness into your mind and into your heart, you would be amazed at what could happen and who you could help. And I think that's the message I would tell my 15-year-old self is be kind to yourself, be loving to yourself, and recognize that in the future, you're gonna be able to help that little girl version of you. You're gonna be able to speak into her life, let her know how much she matters, and create a life that's beyond anything you could have imagined by helping and serving others in a really big way. And I think all of us have that possibility if we believe it. I believe that there's a dream in every single one of us. And that's one of the things I think our greatest untapped natural resource in the world is not natural resources, it's people, it's potential. I believe all of us have so much incredible potential, and yet we limit ourselves by what we can do, who we can be, by our thoughts, by our beliefs, by maybe the environments we're in, by the things that we think we should do or the responsibilities we have. And I believe that if we could all tap into that full potential, it would be unlimited. It would change the world in such a huge transformational way we wouldn't even know what to do with ourselves. And I believe that is possible for every single one of the people that's listening, for everybody who's not listening. We all have that in us. And if we can lean into that, it can change the world.
Amen. What a great talk. I love every minute of it. And I know we're over on time, but that was so good. I'm just going to let you go because you're just dropping gold nuggets left and right.
Thank you.
Last question is if people want to know more about you or hiring a fractional CMO or whatever, come talk to their 15-year-old kid, whatever it is. How can they get in touch with you and find out more?
Yeah, I love that. First off, I want to say thank you. I appreciate your time and energy, and you did an awesome job of asking great questions. So appreciate you. So if you're interested in reaching out and connecting with me, launchsuccess.co is my website. And you can learn all the things there about my books and speaking and coaching and marketing and that leadership conference that I host for young people, all the things.
Awesome. Well, all that information will be down in the notes below, so you don't need to worry about rewinding. Just click more down in the notes and It'll all be right there. So Allison, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate you. Have a good day.